Basscenter in-game update is brought to you by Citgo.
We welcome you back to Lake Toho, Kissimmee, Florida for this Basscenter in-game update. 4 lakes available to the anglers here, all connected by the Kissimmee River. They can fish them all, so a lot
catch
of
big
areas.
fish in every single one of them, because that's what lives here. Big fish right behind me probably lurking in these waters.
Of course, where we are is off limits,
Yes.
out of bounds,
Yes.
more or less. So let's go take a look at the unofficial leaderboards as it stands right now. And Luke Clausen continues to hold a commanding lead over Preston Clark. But Byron, check out the notables. Your buddy Skeet Reese is 16th. KVD back there in 37th.
And let's touch on KVD for a second. He's in 38th place. He's the defending champion of the Classic. He only has 16.10 right now. He needs a 4-pounder to get into that precious top 25 and go fishing tomorrow, John.
That's right, because it is cut day, elimination day. 26 anglers will go home after today. Only 25 will be fishing for that $500,000 first prize on Sunday afternoon. Mike Worm has made his way up the leaderboard consistently. In fact, he's having a great day, and for more on him, let's go out on the water with Robbie Floyd.
Yeah, that great day would be an understatement. Moving from almost 50th place, he was in 49th, and moving up right at the edge of the top 5 right now. The first 5 minutes we come over here, he caught 2 fish. They were small, but obviously he made a move earlier. He's got about 8 fish total today. He's measuring within ounces. He had the balance bar out just a moment ago. It looks like his first objective is sight fishing. Whenever he's sitting there trying to focus on it, but there's a lot more overcast. There's a lot cloudier situation right now. Cameron, back up just a little bit, just check out what I'm doing just to try and hook up on what he's seeing. He's having to pull back and maybe get a few shots with the, with under his shade and just trying to clear it. I actually threw on some goggles because these are polarized. My prescription lenses aren't. Tomorrow, I thought with it being cloudy, there's nobody sight fishing out there today. But, the polarized lenses let you look into the water a little bit. He is throwing a Strike King Zero, guys. So, a stick bait, trying to just work it in there. Not everything has been a sight fishing catch, but I think that's what he's trying to spot first. But you notice, I might be around some Kissimmee grass and lily pads throughout the day previous with other anglers. Don't really see anywhere he's at right now, so I think he's trying to focus on one certain type of structure, and it looks like it's paying off right now.
All right, thank you, Robbie. Now let's go back to our continuing live coverage with Tommy Sanders and the crew are at the Orange County Convention Center. We'll send it back to you guys.
Welcome back. Live coverage of the Citgo Bassmaster Classic 2006. Some folks out there just having fun. Popping a few wheelies out there with the airboat out on Toho and Kissimmee. Other guys are gritting their teeth. They're bearing down very, very hard. That would be the top 51 anglers in the world at this moment. 25 million people bass fish in this country, and we're down to 51. Tomorrow we'll be down to 25. One of the best is with us now. Surprisingly, like this guy, not fishing in the Classic, but Shaw Grigsby. Your expertise in bed fishing is probably hailed far above anyone else's. That's why we got you here, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right. We got a lot to look forward to today. Of course, Shaw, we'll talk about the bed fishing with you. Terry Scroggins making the big jump today. That guy is a bed fisherman, but he also does a lot of other things, too.
He's a Denny Brower, right? I mean, he's a flipper, and he's probably in that heavy mats with those giant weights and going for the gold, man. I mean, he just wants to jump up in the standings because he was so low yesterday, and he's probably sticking with what he does best.
Yeah, I practiced with him on the one practice day this week, and that's what he did the whole day, just taking that big weight, 3-inch tube, dropping into those heavy mats of vegetation. That's how you catch giant stringers. Didn't work yesterday, but it could work today.
Absolutely. Every day is a different day, and it's hard to keep Terry down. He knows these bodies of water probably better than anybody.
All right, Bush Shootout coming up a little later this year. That's all about big catches of fish during the course of the season. We have to mention the Bush Shootout when we look at what we're seeing at the weigh-ins here at Toho 2006. Let's take a look at the Bush Shootout from last year and explain how it works. These are the top fish catches from throughout the year, from the different stops along the year. The number 1 single-day weight from here at the Classic will head to the Shootout as well. Last year it took place on Table Rock Lake, Springfield, Missouri, there in the Branson area. And Brent Chapman had himself a slow start, the angler from Kansas, while Gerald Swindle really racked up some big points. Some big money, $100,000 for a 2-day tournament on the line for these guys. They were treated first class all the way. The G-Man tried to keep it going, but in the end, it was this fella right here. Brent Chapman, the Kansas angler who took the Bush Shootout for 2005. The Bush Shootout for 2006 is already being populated. Everybody's trying to make it into the Bush Shootout. Let's take a look at our leaders right now. The two top candidates for getting into the Busch Shootout from today's catch, definitely going to be Luke Clausen and, of course, our man Preston Clark. Let's take a look out on Lake Toho in Kissimmee of their track after they left the takeoff this morning in Kissimmee, Florida. Preston Clark and Luke Clausen.
Are they fishing traditional areas that you fished before?
Absolutely. You know, Preston is fishing in a very, very good spawning area. It's a protected pocket. Luke all the way down to Kissimmee, and he's fishing today the same place he did yesterday. He's down there and he's staying with one spot, and that's because I don't think he has the experience to be able to go, I can repeat it here and here and here.
Is that going to hurt him? He can't move around?
You know, I think over time it could. Preston will have a lot of places to back himself up, but we've always seen it. The locals never won the tournament. You know, our classic anyway. But he is, you know, Luke is a great, great angler, and, you know, he's going to be consistent enough to just keep catching limits, and that could hold him. He had a good lead, but Preston was only 5 ounces behind yesterday. So, you know, I mean, that's
Well, one
that's
thing
tight.
about Florida, you can get into a huge school of fish, and there's so much vegetation there that holds those numbers. These fish could keep moving in on him, too, where they replenish every day.
Exactly. And with this weather, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, he could be sitting out there, change pace a little bit, pick up a spinnerbait or something. We got clouds and overcast, and you know, tonight it's supposed to rain like all night long, so you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. It'd be a cool deal.
Let's talk Florida again. You're from Gainesville, Florida. Let's talk about hometown knowledge, hometown advantage versus the hometown curse in trying to win a classic, or the home state curse, I should say.
It's really tough, and for most of the times, and Denny and I know this stuff, you know so many areas that you tend to run and jump rather than sticking with, you know, a pattern and really figuring out what the fish are doing. I think, you know, Preston's a little different guy. He knows, not only does he know Florida water, he knows how to fish Florida water. His dad was one of the top competitors I had to beat all the time growing up. L.E. Clark from Palatka. I mean, we had to beat him in the Palatka tournaments. Remember when we used to fish the St. John's all the time? The guy's really good. So he comes from a family of good fishermen, and I think he's seasoned enough. He might just be able to do it. But it'd be the first time. You know, odds are against him.
He can handle the pressure.
Terry Scroggins, Preston Clark, we saw him highlighted right there. These two guys have fished 60 tournaments. They've won 60 tournaments here in this area. I wonder if some of the guys, the local guys, are getting tired of seeing these guys coming down, and maybe not so happy to see them at the top in the Classic.
They take a lot of money out of this area in here. And you know what's interesting about their catches, if you look at the average fish that were caught yesterday, is averaging just under 3 pounds. That's pretty big. I mean, that's, if you go anywhere in the country, if we catch 3 pound average, we're like really happy. So that's what the average guys caught. The top two guys were averaging almost 6 pounds of fish. That's pretty awesome.
That's unreal.
It really is.
Well, you know, we talk about trying to win the Classic from your home state again. It's never been done before. Why that is, well, we've heard a lot of speculation. It's anyone's guess. Let's talk to the anglers and get some of their thoughts on trying to win a Classic in your home state.
Guys that understand how to catch Florida fish under tough conditions will excel.
Fishing this chain of lakes is going to be like coming back home.
The Florida guys have a little bit of an advantage, but they've got that hometown pressure on them as well.
Other than my home body of water, I know this chain of lakes better than anywhere else in the country.
Take a look at that. Mike Worm, who had jumped 43 places earlier today in the second day of fishing at the Citgo Bassmaster Classic, has come to a grinding halt. This man is stuck currently in 7th place. He has had an amazing jump today. He has caught incredible numbers of fish, nearly 20 pounds unofficially from Mike Worm. Holy cow, so many stories working out there on the water. So many ways to get to the weigh-in. The weigh-in coming up today for you over on ESPN at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Elimination Day. You've got to be among the top 25 if you want to survive and fish on that final day. Have a shot at the trophy. Have a shot at the $500,000 first prize. That's all coming up today. The best wait over 3 days is what wins this thing here. And 3 guys who may not make it, well, they'll make it to the weigh-in, but they may not make it through the weigh-in, are 3 guys that really were favored to do very well down here. The defending champ, Kevin Van Dam, currently in 32nd place. Aaron Martin's got some work to do to make it all the way to 25th or better. And Mike Iaconelli, the 2003 Classic champ, he is languishing in 51st place. Guys, Shaw Grigsby, Denny Brower, what do you think about this? These events right here, our champion really not doing so well, our defending champ.
I think it's shocking. I really do. I never expected all three of those guys to be where they're at. Of course, Ike kind of got himself in that situation with his little fit yesterday, but these other two guys, I expected them to be 1 and 2, not some of these other anglers.
I agree. I mean, you're talking 3 great anglers, 3 consistent anglers. These guys over the past 3 years have just dominated. I mean, they really have. And to see them down, you just know that they're human, which is you know, I remember watching Denny and some of I mean, his consistency streak and what he's done over the time, you just go, wow, you can't beat him. And so you get these guys on these rolls, but every now and then they chip it off. That's why we're sitting here and we're not out there fishing, you know.
This is a humbling sport. Everybody's going to have bad tournaments.
Yeah. Shaw, Denny had a take on the Iaconelli incident. I want to hear what you have to say about that.
You know, I mean, Ike is really, really good for this sport. I think he lost his cool yesterday, but he could have been playing that up. I mean, he is probably the 2 smartest people I've ever seen in bass fishing is the guy sitting next to me and Mike Iaconelli. And they know marketing. They know what to do. They know how to do it. And I don't doubt that a little bit of that was played up. But I also think he probably just lost his cool a little bit, you know.
All right.
But
I want you to look at this graphic right here, Shaw. This is pretty interesting. If he had not been disqualified there on day 1, he had 11 pounds 9 ounces, 9.4 today, 20 pounds 13 ounces. He would have made the cut. And an unfortunate turn of events for that guy.
Yeah, but I tell you what, you know, he, like I said, he brings a lot to the sport. Whether you love him or hate him, he brings a lot to the sport. He's really, really good with kids. If he learns to control himself a little bit, you know, on the water, it's limitless what he can do in this sport. So I think he'll come back just fine. He'll be fine after this. You know, it's a tough day, but hey, we dig our own holes, don't we?
Good Ike, bad Ike. Yeah, I like good Ike.
All right, we're going to take a break, but let's check back in on Mike Worm. Mike Worm, of course, we saw him stuck there when we came back from the break there, but Mike Worm,
in a hole
well, he's got himself in a hole still. He just needs a few more inches and he can get out of high center there.
That's how shallow he's fishing, though. I mean, he's fishing in just inches and inches of water.
All right, the same place where he didn't catch him yesterday, Mike Worm goes back to that place, catches him today. That's the way it goes with these Florida fish. We've got a lot of stories working. More when we return. Welcome back. Our continuing live coverage, Citgo Bassmaster Classic 2006. We're on Lake Toho on the Kissimmee chain, Kissimmee, Florida. Our defending champ, you see in the yellow box there, Kevin Van Dam, not doing very well right now, not on track to make that cut, that top 25. We'll get to fish on day number 3. You saw those other worst performances by defending champions. That is not a list you want to be on. Kim Bain has been following the Kevin Van Dam story all day long. What's up with Van Dam at this point in time?
Well, Tommy, we're sitting here with Kevin Van Dam in Cyprus, and he's having a tough day. He got onto a little bit of a bite. He caught one that gave him a 6 fish, so he culled one out, and then just about a minute after that, he lost one. So he's definitely feeling the pressure right now. He's a little disappointed, a little angry
following
with
the story there with Kevin Van Dam. Big surprise. That's got to be the shocker so far. That and the Iaconelli story.
You know, it really is, and I think Kevin, you know, he's on the bubble, but you never know. We got a lot of hours left on the day. He can probably pull it back off, and this is going to be a great tournament. And you know, Denny and I were talking in the break in there about how at Pittsburgh it was ounces that separated everybody. How exciting! Well, Florida, pounds is no different than ounces because the fish are so much larger. You can have a 5-pound lead, and it's no difference than having a 1-ounce lead in Pittsburgh. You can have a 5-pound or 7-pound lead because that's one fish.
Yeah, you can pull up to a spot, back-to-back casts, catch a couple of 9-pounders, and bam, you just caught a guy 20 places in front of you.
Look what happened. We've seen guys jump from back in 40-something place all the way into the top 5, boom, just like that. So this is just, it's a different game because it's just on a much bigger scale.
All right, thank you so much, Shaw. You got a big day today. You got a weigh-in coming up. I know you got to get ready to go
4
on to
o'clock,
that.
is that right?
4:30 on ESPN. Don't you of all people forget that.
We'll be there.
Shaw Grigsby, one of the greatest of all time. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be back with more from our classic coverage in just a moment. All right, we got Luke Clausen still on top. 5 pounds, unofficial lead for Luke Clausen. We got a Florida boy trying to make it the first ever to win in his home state. So much going on here. The stories continue. The fishing continues when we come back.
You're always too kind to me. Chair him.
Come on, guys, you're holding us up. Let's get back out. Let's go. Anger management. I'm gonna need it after this. I'm serious. Freaking guys are sitting there in the lot like, oh, well, we can get in. Well, they can't close the freaking doors. Freaking.
Yo, you can't make
All right, that's Ish Monroe. That's the scene from this morning at the Southport Lock, the way you get from Lake Toho down to the rest of the Kissimmee chain. That's a tense part of the day. These guys are trying to get their fishing day started. And then, of course, what's the problem? Why can't they get the doors to the lock shut?
Because there's too many guys trying to get in there, and they can't close the doors until those guys get out of the road. And everybody wants to get in on the lock at the same time, and they got to get it organized. They got to get them doors closed so they can move on. Just think if that happens when they're trying to come back to make weigh-in, they could all end up late. So locks disgust me.
Did we see some spectators in there? Well, that'll be a story as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We got a big weigh-in coming up for you today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Boy, we're going to weigh them all in. We'll see who makes the cut, who fishes onto the championship. All the hoopla, the noise, the excitement of the weigh-in today, 4:30 on ESPN. We'll be back. Live coverage continues the 2006 Citgo Bassmaster Classic Elimination Day. Only 25 anglers will survive for today. The scene inside the Classic Outdoor Expo, one of the greatest outdoor shows in all the world. Well, I tell you, possibly a surprise to some people, not a surprise to others, is the story of Kevin Worth from Crestview, Kentucky. Kevin Worth, the former Kentucky Derby jockey, holding tight there in third place. A lot of people were picking him. Why? Well, we'll explain that in just a minute, but here's his last couple of catches from today, fishing Kevin Worth.
Kevin had a great practice, Tommy. He was catching them good. Yesterday, he was catching 22 fish early in the day. He's probably catching more fish than any of the other anglers. I look for him to have a very high finish, possibly win this event.
What are his strengths, Denny? What would you say is the main strength of Kevin Worth?
Well, when we had a tournament here a couple of years ago, Kevin actually led it the first day. He is flipping down through the hydrilla mats. Right now, he's flipping isolated cover. Flipping is not his strength. A lot of people may think it is, but it's not. Carolina rigging structure fishing is, I think, where he's at his best.
13 pounds and 4 ounces today. That is a strong performance on day two when the weights are down for these guys. And Kevin Worth, here's a bit of trivia about him, a former national youth roller skating national champion. I want to take a look at the scoreboard real quickly before we have to go to break again. Our leader, of course, is still Luke Clausen with unofficially 42 pounds. Luke Clausen being chased by Preston Clark, our Florida angler. And there you see, right there, Kevin Worth with 35 pounds. He's a good ways back. If he wants to get in the picture, needs to catch some more today. ESPN's live coverage of the Citgo 2006 Bassmaster Classic is brought to you by Citgo and in part by Berkeley, Lowrance Electronics, and Toyota. Our live coverage continues. There's that lock, the Southport Lock, that unfortunately only holds a finite number of fishermen. A lot of people get a little bit antsy about that first thing in the morning when you got a big tournament on the way. We're about to wrap up our live coverage here. And, of course, we knew to get out on the water and get the Kim Bain before we get going here. I assume Mark and Robbie are still hustling, trying to find something else, but I want to get your final thoughts on what you've seen on a wild and woolly day on Lake Toho, Kim.
Right, Tommy. Well, the wind is picking up, and so is the pressure for a lot of anglers. I was just sandwiched between Hackney and Van Dam. What a perfect place to be. I've got Van Dam behind me. He's just outside of the bubble in about 34th place, about 1.5 pounds unofficially out of making the top 25 cut. Clausen, awesome. He's on a hot streak. He wants it. He wins it, or he wants to win it, of course. Preston Clark, he's right there, and don't discount Kevin Worth. He said the wind would hurt him or help him, and it's definitely not hurting him today. Don't rule out Mike Worm. He's on a roll too. Back to you, Tommy.
All right, Denny, quickly, what you've seen today?
I think it fell off a lot more than I thought it would. The fishing's tougher. I think it may pick up later in the day. The clouds are starting to roll in. It's getting a little more like it was yesterday, and if that happens, the weights may go up.
All right, we're going to wrap it up right now. We got Basscenter on the way as we finish up our live coverage. Let's take a look at our leaderboard. Very important stuff going on right now. We have a dominating leader at this point. That is Luke Clausen from the Spokane Valley of Washington. 42 pounds unofficially, a 5-pound lead over Preston Clark, the hometown angler trying to be the first to win in his home state. Don't discount Kevin Worth. Edwin Evers, a ton of talent there, and the Larry Nixon, the legend, the man of fishing there in the 5th place, rounding out our top 5. That concludes coverage of day 2 here at the Citgo Bassmaster Classic. Up next on ESPN2 Basscenter. Later, don't forget to join us for the weigh-in at 4:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. I'm Tommy Sanders for Denny Brower, Jerry McInnes. Also, Shaw Grigsby in here, Robbie Floyd, Kim Bain, and Mark May, and our entire crew. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Thanks for joining us, and so long, everyone.